So, what are some stocks that are on sale? So, the first stock is I'll go over the list so that way you guys, if you don't want to watch the video, you can have these stocks on your watch list and you can look over them and do your own analysis. So, uh, first off is Salesforce, Tesla, Pepsi, Home Depot, NVS, Nike, TSM, Adobe, Visa, Apple, VOO, Alibaba, Amazon, MasterCard, Disney, McDonald's, T-Mobile, PayPal, Meta, Nvidia, Starbucks, Google, Qualcomm, AMD, and Lilly. Those are the stocks that I'm personally watching for now. And let's go over the first stock, which is CRM. CRM already reported earnings, right? But they have earnings on August 28th. So I would honestly just hold off until they report earnings. The next stock is Tesla. Uh, Tesla already reported earnings, and a personal entry level I'm waiting to see for Tesla to touch is the 180-day moving average or the 200-day moving average. And then I'm just waiting to see if, Tesla can bounce off those moving averages. All right, so the next stock is Pepsi. Pepsi already reported earnings, and depending on how the other stocks do on earnings, and if it affects, Pepsi in a way, a personal entry level that I'm looking out for Pepsi to enter is around the 161 level. And moving on to Home Depot. Home Depot is reporting earnings on August 13th. And honestly, I would just hold off until, they report earnings. Yeah. NVS, yeah, they already reported earnings. But seeing how the market is like tanking right now, um, my prediction for NVS is that possibly NVS could crash down to the downside, maybe in a couple days. Who knows, right? But a personal entry point that I'm looking out for NVS is the 50-day moving average. So if it touches the 50-day moving average, I think that's a personal good entry point to get into NVS. Next stock is Nike. So Nike, they already reported earnings. Their earnings weren't. Let me see what were their earnings. Let's see. Uh, Key earnings. So it was their revenue that they missed, but just seeing that Nike is at the 71 level, I think that's a good entry point since it's been trying to not break that level of 71. But then you see where this headline says Nike price target cut to $71. That kind of signals that maybe Nike could see a little bit more downtrend to the downside, and possibly if you know Nike decides to crash down a little further, I think another personal entry point that I would look out for would be if it touches the 180-day moving average. And if it breaks the 180-day moving average, I would look out for the 200-day moving average to see if it can use those moving averages as support. And the next stock is uh, um, so the next stock is Taiwan Semi. They already reported earnings. I think a personal good entry point would be if you know, Taiwan Semi touches the 180-day moving average, or if it touches the 200-day moving average. Now, Adobe, I feel like seeing that the 9-day moving average crossed over the 20-day moving average, I feel like possibly, Adobe could crash down in the next couple of days, but who knows? This is just a prediction, honestly. But I feel like if Adobe can bounce off the 50-day moving average, I think then the 50-day moving average is a good entry point to see if Adobe can use the 50-day moving average as support. Visa is probably my number one pick out of all of these stocks. The reason is because they already reported earnings. Their earnings weren't, I think they weren't bad. Let me see. Visa earnings. Oh no, they were well, they messed out on revenue, but it wasn't, like a horrible revenue, right? But seeing where it's at right now, I feel like, and seeing that it didn't want to break yesterday's low of 253. It regained it throughout the day and it touched all-time high of 258. I feel like that level around 253 or 252 could be a level of support in these upcoming days. Now, if MasterCard doesn't do good on earnings, then probably Visa could get affected by MasterCard's earnings. And if, MasterCard decides to report not so good earnings, um, the way that Visa could get impacted is by maybe possibly Visa crashing down, possibly touching the 180 or 200-day moving average. And I will be on the lookout, but for now, Visa is my number one pick out of all these stocks. Apple, they're reporting earnings, so I would just hold off. VOO is I would say a personal, friendly index fund if you don't know what stocks to invest into. And basically, you're investing into the top 500 companies of the entire stock market. And you don't have to like buy each of those individual companies when, this index fund, VOO, it's like basically VOO, you're like owning those top 500 companies in a way. But a personal entry point that I'll look out for VOO is if it's I don't think the stock market is going to crash that bad, but if it does, I would be on the lookout to see if it touches the 180-day moving average. But I think if, VOO decides to maintain itself above the 50-day moving average, I think that's a personal good entry point. Alibaba, I would hold off on Alibaba for now. They're reporting earnings on August 8th, and usually they're very volatile. So I would honestly wait, but if I were to see a personal good entry point, I would say around the 73 level or the 72 level. Amazon, I would just hold off, but I do think that uh, you know, if Amazon decides to crash after reporting earnings, I would be on the lookout for the 180-day moving average as a good entry point, as a personal good entry point. MasterCard, it looks like MasterCard is using the 429, 430 level as support. So I feel like, in a way, if these couple of days, Mastercard decides to find its foot, you know, using those levels, 429 or 430 as support, then I think those are personal good entry points to get into MasterCard. Disney, I would honestly hold off on Disney. I don't know what's going on with these guys, but yeah, I would just hold off. McDonald's, I would say a personal good entry point would be around 247 or 248. Yeah, 247 or 248. And then if, McDonald's decides to crash down after reporting earnings, I would be on the lookout for 241 as a personal entry point or 243. Uh, T-Mobile, I like where it's at the fit. It's like maintaining itself above the 50-day moving average. It's kind of using it as support, but due to the fact they're reporting earnings, I would just hold off to see what happens. Next stock is PayPal. PayPal, it looks like it's uh the 57 level has been like used as support previously. And honestly, I would just hold off. They're reporting earnings the 31st of this month. Meta, it looks like it's approaching the 180 and the 200-day moving average. Again, they're reporting earnings. Depending how they do earnings, and if they can use the one, and if Meta can maintain itself above the 180 or 200-day moving average, I feel like those would be two good entry points when Meta decides to use the 180 or 200-day moving average as support. Nvidia, Nvidia is kind of hard right now to think uh what's a good entry point, but I would just hold off on Nvidia for now. Starbucks, I like where Starbucks is at. A personal good entry point would be around the 72 level. And if, Starbucks decides to crash down, I think the 71 level would be another good entry point. Um, Google already reported earnings, but it looks like it might. I feel like a personal good entry point would be the 180-day moving average or the 200-day moving average. Qualcomm, they're reporting earnings on the 31st of this month, so I would just hold off. AMD, I like where AMD is at, but um, but it looks like it's already broken the like support in a way. So unless it gets back to the 141 level, um, I would just hold off, or I would just hold off until earnings comes around. And then Lilly is it looks like they're already declining, and they're reporting earnings on August 8th. But depending how they do on earnings, and if they crash down and use the 180 and the 200-day moving average as support, then I think that would be a personal good entry point to get into Lilly if Lilly can use the 180 or 200-day moving average as support. And that's pretty much it. That wraps it up for all of these stocks. I'll repeat them again. CRM, Tesla, Pepsi, Home Depot, NVS, Nike, TSM, Adobe, Visa, Apple, VOO, Alibaba, Amazon, MasterCard, Disney, McDonald's, T-Mobile, PayPal, Meta, Nvidia, Starbucks, Google, Qualcomm, AMD, and Lilly. Those are the stocks that I would keep an eye out for. Honestly, if I had to choose one stock out of this whole list, I would choose Visa, to be honest with you. Visa. But other than that, that's pretty much it. Hopefully, you guys did good, trading or investing. And if you guys want to learn to like, trade, you can always paper trade, and you can sign up with my Webull link in the description, and then you can learn to paper trade as Webull lets you, paper trade meaning you can trade with fake money. and you can learn a strategy along the way. And that's pretty much it. Hopefully, you guys have a good night or a good day or whenever you're seeing this. As always, take care, and I'll see you in the next video. As always, take care. Bye.